Hi, I'm Jordana Wright, and I'm here in Roxborough State Park in Colorado. With so many incredible state parks to visit in Colorado, I had a variety of places to choose from. But when I woke up to a fresh coating of snow, I knew Roxborough would be the perfect place to visit. Here in the Front Range of the Colorado Rockies, there are a few places you can find these beautiful red sandstone formations. But to me, Roxborough State Park has the most to offer photographers, especially under a gorgeous layer of new snow. The first step to taking great photographs in any winter location is preparing for the cold. If you're cold and miserable, your photos are going to suffer. So let's talk about what I'm wearing. I have fleece-lined leggings, a nice warm down coat, gloves in my pockets just in case, and hot packs in the toes of my boots. I have a hat ready to go if I need it, and I'm ready to be out all day shooting. When I go out for a day of photographing, I try to bring only what I'm most likely to need. Traveling light is traveling smart. So here's what's in my bag today. My camera body. For longer trips away from home, I'll generally bring a backup camera just in case, but since we're so close to home, I decided to save the weight. A versatile lens like this Sigma 18-300. A wide-angle lens like my Canon 10-22. A macro lens like my Canon 100mm. A few filters. Here I have a polarizer and 2 neutral density filters, as well as a step-down ring, so I can use my larger filters across multiple lenses. The polarizer I will definitely use, more on that in a bit, and the neutral density filters are a good idea to keep in my bag just in case I want to do slightly longer exposures in such a bright environment. Lens hoods for the lenses I'll use most. This way, if it starts to snow again, I won't have to worry about constantly cleaning the snow off the front of my lens. A reliable travel-size tripod. This is the Manfrotto Be Free in aluminum. A comfortable camera strap by Peak Designs, a cable release for longer exposures, multiple camera batteries, several memory cards in a waterproof case, extra hand warmers, and snacks. I always need snacks. Wow, there's a cool bird up there. So, he's flying away. So one thing you want to keep in mind on super chilly days, today it's a little bit closer to 40, so it's not so bad, but let's say we're talking 10s, 20s, make sure you're shooting with your most versatile lens. The last thing that you want to do is fumble around in your bag, changing lenses when you feel like your fingers are going to fall off. Pick a nice versatile lens. This is my 18-300. Choose a nice big memory card, make sure your battery is full, keep spare batteries in an inner pocket so that you don't lose any battery charge from the cold, and you should be good to go. One of my favorite spots at Roxborough State Park is the Fountain Valley Overlook. This spot offers 360-degree views of the incredible sandstone formations like the Dakota Hogback and the Lyons Formation. It's a gorgeous place to photograph year-round and is easily accessible for hikers of all skill levels. Whenever you're shooting in snow, just try to remember that snow makes your camera stupid. The quantity of white that fills the frame, your camera's going to want to underexpose every single time. So even though it feels counterintuitive, deliberately overexpose your shots to get a good natural looking exposure. When I say snow makes your camera stupid, I mean it. Check out some of these shots that, according to my camera, are properly exposed. This shot is definitely way too dark. Thanks to Lightroom, I can brighten it up by about a stop just to bring it to how I know it should look. Looking at the before and after, you can see just how badly my camera misjudged proper exposure. You could stick to the exposure that your camera suggests and plan to correct it in post-processing, but I prefer to hedge my bets when I'm shooting and increase the exposure by about a stop. I'm always nervous about losing details in those shadows, and if your camera tends to super underexpose in the snow, as most do, that's always a risk. I'm shooting with a circular polarizer on my lens. This can really help pop colors, bring out the contrast between the rocks, the sky, the clouds, and the snow. But there is one major consideration when using a polarizer: the angle of the sun. When the sun is directly overhead or at a 90-degree angle from the scene you're photographing, you could use a polarizer and still get natural-looking skies. But when the sun is at a shallower angle, pay close attention to the way the polarizer colors the sky. Blue skies can get a seriously unnatural dark cast, and that cast is often only in a portion of the sky, creating a pretty jarring gradient. Take a look at how dark the sky is in these images. Correcting that in post-processing is going to take a long time with mixed results. The best way to approach this effect is to rotate the polarizer to minimize the amount of polarization being used in your shot. As you turn the filter, you'll be able to see the skies go in and out of a more natural coloration. I don't want to scare you off of using a polarizer. They can provide amazing depth and impact in your images. Just pay attention to what you're getting as you shoot. Just as snow makes your camera stupid about exposure, it confuses the hell out of it when it comes to correct color rendering. Auto white balance, which is generally a safe bet when shooting in RAW, comes up short in the snow. So either set a custom white balance as you're shooting, remembering to recalibrate the white balance as lighting conditions change, or plan to adjust your images for color in post-processing. In a vast landscape like this, it's easy to get overwhelmed. The simplest thing to do is pick an object and then frame it in. You want to find something in the foreground that's going to help connect the viewer through the image and to the ultimate subject in the background. I like to create natural frames using elements of the scenery. In these first two images, I was able to use the snowy branches to frame in the rock formations, but you can also take advantage of negative space as a framing element. Take a look at this nice clean snow behind me. If you're going to photograph in a snowscape, make sure you get out right away after it stops snowing. You don't want people's footprints tromping through your image. This is beautiful and clean and ready to be photographed. Remember, we're not just trying to avoid other people's footprints in photographs. We have to pay attention to our own. When you first approach a scene to photograph it, make sure you're shooting the widest images first, so you can capture all of that clean snow before you step in to explore further. Footprints don't always have to be an eyesore in images. I love finding fresh animal tracks because they can be used really effectively as leading lines in my photos. If you find yourself photographing a scene and you feel like there's something missing, try looking for sources of leading lines, from the man-made to the natural. Things like roads and trails can really help draw the viewer's eye through the image. Psychologically, we're most engaged by the mysterious, so look for leading lines that go around a bend and leave us wondering what's at the end of the path. I love how the trees on this side and this side are sort of framing this rock right here. Make sure that you fill all four corners of your frame with intention. This is a perfect example. I like the shadows on the snow. Something I always tell my students is that not every image needs to be worth 1,000 words. Those smaller detail images, like this shot of snowy shadows, can still be visually compelling and work together to support and enhance the story you're telling through your photographs. Look for the little things, not just the wider landscape. Don't be afraid to crop out the sky to highlight the form of an interesting rock face. There are lots of worthwhile images in every scene. Another favorite technique that works really well with snow and ice is photographing backlit scenes. Fringe light is some of the prettiest light. When I'm shooting toward the sun, I like to get a starburst effect that occurs with narrower apertures, like f11, f16, or f22. If you're not a fan of the starburst, you can still photograph backlit scenes. You just want to keep the aperture open wider than about f8. While it might seem like we had Roxborough State Park to ourselves, it's a really popular location this time of year for snowshoers and cross-country skiers. And for good reason. There's a lot to explore. Fortunately, the park has strict rules about staying on the trails, so I had no problem photographing scenes free of other park visitors as long as I aimed my camera strategically. Having tromped around through 8 to 10 inches of snow for 2 days, I think the snowshoers have the right idea. I'm far from coordinated in the best of conditions, and in these conditions, it was a little ridiculous.
I feel like a baby deer when I walk in snow, all like knees and ankles.
Before you photograph any location, it's a good idea to know the significance of the area you're visiting. It can really help inform your images and help you select your subject matter. Roxborough State Park is a unique and important ecological area. Because of its location between the Rocky Mountains and the plains of eastern Colorado, this area is exceptionally biodiverse and was named a National Natural Landmark. Visitors can expect to see any of the 140 species of birds that regularly pass through, and a variety of mammals, from the more common mule deer, prairie dogs, and coyote, to the more elusive mountain lions, bobcats, and the occasional black bear. The sandstone formations here are also the perfect habitat for many species of snakes and lizards, though they're hibernating this time of year, and as far as I'm concerned, that means that they're smarter than the rest of us. With 15 miles of trails and unique historic structures on the property, Roxborough State Park has a lot to offer visitors at any time of year. Next time you're visiting the Colorado Rockies, set aside some time to hike the trails, do some snowshoeing, or just relax, listen to the birds, and watch the sunset from one of the beautiful overlooks this park has to offer. I'm Jordana Wright. Thanks for joining me at Roxborough State Park. And remember, great photography begins right in your backyard.